I hereby order spousal support payments of $1,800 per month and the continuation of the mortgage and child support payments of $950 monthly until the minor child reaches adulthood, declared the judge. Additionally, should the child attend college, those expenses will also be your responsibility. This verdict would cost me over $6,200 a month. My wife had manipulated countless lawyers in her firm, and now they were all taking their turn against me. My name is Nick D'Angelo, and my ex-wife is Anna, short for Annabelle. Our daughter, my pride and joy, is named Sophie. To say she's a daddy's girl would be an understatement. When she was 3, I took her to various events. She even told the judge she wanted me to be her guardian, but he ignored her pleas. The entire proceedings were a farce, and the child support was exorbitant. Anna was working and earning money. I shouldn't have to support her while also paying the mortgage and everything else. I was undoubtedly being taken advantage of, and the judge was complicit. I wasn't going to take it lying down. I was already plotting how to make her regret crossing me. I can be vindictive when wronged. Growing up on the south side of Chicago, in Lansing, Illinois, we knew how to hurt someone. Some called me an entrepreneur. I simply saw opportunities and seized them. When I was young, not all my money-making ventures were legitimate. Now I own several rental properties, vending machines, and another business that would help fulfill one of my obligations to pay back my loving ex-wife. I own a coin-changing business, similar to Coinstar, with machines across the Chicagoland area and northern Indiana. This would allow me to pay the spousal support, every penny of the $1,800 and change. She would have to take the bags to the bank, where they would insist on having them rolled. Maybe one of her lawyer friends could help her count and roll them. Anna stayed home with Sophie until she started school. She then worked part-time for a few years before deciding to become a paralegal. She took courses for about 2 years and then started job hunting. After about 6 weeks, she was hired by one of the larger law firms in the area. Anna is smart, but I now believe her looks, even at 32, helped her get the job. She was one of many paralegals at the firm, but it didn't take long for her to advance. She caught the eye of a rising attorney, who made her his assistant. I now wonder if she was self-serving in those days. I, a foolish husband, fully supported her career choice. She would come home tired, but with a smile on her face. Remembering this, I now wonder why she was so exhausted and what those smiles were for. We lived in a nice house in Oak Forest, Illinois, a typical working-class suburb of Chicago. As she began socializing more with younger lawyers and even senior partners, her attitude changed. She insisted we needed to move to a better neighborhood. You make good money, and I work at a prestigious law firm. We need to show the world that we are successful, she argued. I loved our home. We had renovated it and made it our own. I didn't see the need to move to an expensive suburb. After 2 years of her nagging, I agreed but insisted we wouldn't sell our house. We could rent it out, adding it to the other properties I owned. So, we bought a house on the north side of Chicago, in Wilmette. To afford the $850,000 mansion, as I called it, we took out a jumbo loan. It wasn't on the shores of Lake Michigan, but it was close enough. She furnished it with new furniture to her liking. I never felt comfortable there. In fact, thinking back, it was the beginning of the end for us. We wanted different things out of life. I wanted to be humble, the kind of millionaire next door that no one knew about. She wanted to flaunt her wealth and live a lavish lifestyle. Now, back to the judge's ruling in our divorce decree. I would fulfill his requirements to the letter, but she wouldn't like it. Over the next month, I started making my plans. My daughter would get child support, but Anna wouldn't see a cent of it. It would be in an account just for Sophie, so she could get whatever she needed and wanted. She would also have the best health insurance I could find. Anna, on the other hand, would get catastrophic insurance, a policy with a very high deductible. She would have to pay for all her medical services unless she became seriously ill. Then the policy would kick in after 30 days. It was time to pay Anna the first installment of spousal support. An armored truck pulled up to the mansion, and the driver knocked on the door. When she answered, she wasn't alone. One of her friends was with her. The driver informed her that he was delivering the first month's payment. She was confused, not understanding why there was an armored truck parked in the driveway. By this time, a few curious neighbors had emerged from their McMansions. Perhaps they thought she had won the lottery. They watched as 2 men carried bag after bag of coins into the front room, dumping them out on the Italian marble floor. The sound was incredible, even from across the street, where I was standing by my car, recording everything on my phone. As the truck pulled away, she saw me and started yelling. I just waved and yelled back, "Enjoy your money, Anna." Then I climbed into my car and drove off. I wasn't surprised when a man approached me the following Tuesday and asked if I was Nick D'Angelo. I ignored him. "Excuse me, sir, are you Nick D'Angelo?" he asked more forcefully. Again, I didn't acknowledge him. He pulled out his phone, took a picture of me, and served me a subpoena. When I didn't accept it, he threw it on the ground, saying, "You've been served," and walked away. After ensuring he was gone, I picked up the subpoena. I was due in court the following Wednesday. That gave me a week to finalize my preparations. I spent the week calling and meeting people, making appointments, and preparing for court. I also took Sophie to lunch. She was angry at her mother and couldn't believe how much she had changed. She told her mother again that she wanted to live with me, but Anna refused. I told her I would go to the judge again, and if he still didn't agree, I might end up in jail. Don't do anything violent, Daddy. It's not worth it, she said. Don't worry, I won't. But I will voice my opinion, and I could go to jail for it. Your mom will probably be thrilled about that, I'm sure. Don't worry about me. I can handle it. However, I've set up a trust for you. Uncle Jake will be the trustee until you reach adulthood. He will ensure you have everything you need and want. But understand, your mother is not to receive any of it. It's meant for your maintenance, not hers. Of course, Daddy. She doesn't deserve anything, she said firmly. That's my girl. She has a strong will and is becoming quite an adult. Dad, I'm going to go to court with you. I will demand to live with you, Sophie said determinedly. I wasn't sure if it would make a difference. It was Wednesday, and Sophie, my attorney, and I were sitting in the gallery waiting for our turn before the judge. Anna walked in with her lawyer and sneered, "Hey, jerk, you better follow the program. You can't do everything you want." When the judge called my name, Sophie stood up and walked to the podium first. "Excuse me, miss. This case involves Nick D'Angelo," the judge said. "I'm his daughter, and I want to petition the court to live with my father and not my mother," she declared, glaring at Anna. "Young lady, you will not speak like that in my courtroom. Your custodial parent has already been determined. But I'm 15 years old. I should have the right to choose who I want to live with," she demanded, interrupting the judge. "Well, there were allegations of an inappropriate relationship with your father, so I ruled in favor of your mother." Hearing that, I looked at Anna, who had a smug look on her face. My counsel stepped forward. "Your Honor, we are not aware of any charges or evidence presented to the court at any previous hearing. I refer to the psychiatrist's report. I stand by my decision, so this matter is closed." About 4 months earlier, Sophie had been going through a tough time with the divorce and problems at school, so we took her to a psychiatrist. There must have been something in those records that Anna felt would sway the judge in her favor. I never had any inappropriate behavior with my daughter. Anna tried to paint me as a predator. My blood pressure rose. I couldn't believe Anna would lie like that, accusing me of something I hadn't done. The judge wouldn't even let me defend myself. I glared at the judge. He was going to pay for this. I guess Anna's law firm handled everything. Let's see what happens in the end. Anna's attorney spoke up. "We asked the court to find Nick D'Angelo in contempt of court." My lawyer was almost as furious as I was. He saw that there would be no justice in this courtroom today. "Your Honor, my client has complied with all the terms of the divorce decree to date. There are no grounds for contempt of court." "Your Honor," Anna's attorney said, "my client has not received child support from Mr. D'Angelo." "That is correct, Your Honor," my attorney stated. "The child support was given directly to his daughter for any wants and needs she may have. You can ask her yourself." The judge looked confused. He turned to Sophie, who smiled and nodded. "We have canceled checks for insurance and mortgage," my lawyer said. I looked at Anna and her lawyer, who were trying to think of something. "Your Honor," Anna's lawyer said, "paying in change is causing my client an intolerable hardship. Can we request that she be given a check in the future?" The judge, finally managing to speak, said, "That seems reasonable." Before he could say anything else, my attorney interjected, "Your Honor, before you continue, could you answer a couple of questions pertaining to this matter?" "And what would that be?" he asked. "Is the Chicago Police Department part of the legal system of the city of Chicago?" The judge looked at my lawyer as if he were crazy. "Of course they are." "Why then," my attorney continued, "if my client has his car impounded and wants to retrieve it from a Chicago police impound lot, he can't write a check but has to pay with cash or a credit card?" The judge stammered, My attorney continued, "If the police, by your own admission part of the Chicago legal system, refuse to accept a check, how can my client be required to pay future spousal maintenance in the form of a check?" The judge, looking like a buffoon, became defensive. "Because this is my court, and what I say is what will happen." At this point, I had had enough. I stood up. "Because you're the law, and you're trying to please my wife's law firm? Was she your mistress too?" He exploded, "Mr. D'Angelo, I find you in contempt of court and sentence you to 6 months in the Cook County Jail unless you apologize to me in the court and agree to any conditions I impose." "Who are you? The king of this kangaroo court?" I shouted. The judge was shocked, probably never spoken to like that before. "Bailiff, take this man into custody." I looked at Anna and her lawyer. They were stunned. "Good luck getting money for your nonsense," I said with a smile. She didn't yet know how much her life would change. I was taken to a cell, strip-searched, and transferred to prison. Prison is a good word. It was more like a prison. Immediately, 2 guards started questioning me about the disrespect I had shown the judge. I wasn't afraid of prison. I'm 64, tall, and weigh about 255 pounds. Working on rental properties kept me in shape. I also did a little time in juvie as a teenager. I was processed and escorted to a cell. I ignored all the talking and shouting. I was determined to stay in the shadows and always be on guard. As long as no one messed with me, I would be a ghost. When the evening meal was served, I took my tray and stood against the wall to eat, looking around at the scumbags pretending to be more than they were. Out of the noise, I heard a voice I hadn't heard in decades. Tex. My friends on the street used to call me Tex back in my juvenile delinquent days. Tex Randall, also known as Ringer, approached. What the hell are you doing here? Many eyes followed him and turned to me. I set my tray down and hugged him, interlocking my right arms with his and putting my other arm around his shoulders. Ringer, wow. How are you? Well, I'm here, so not great. What about you? I basically told the judge he was an idiot. That'll do it, he said. So how long are you here for? 6 months, unless I apologize to the idiot judge. So 6 months then, he laughed. We talked, and some prisoners watched us. Ringer told me about the situation in the prison. He said he would watch my back, and I agreed. We reminisced about old times. What are you going to do about your ex, her lovers, and the judge? He asked after I told him everything. He knew me from my younger years. Revenge had always been part of my nature. In fact, that's why I got the nickname Tex, short for Texas, meaning don't mess with Texas. Those who crossed me paid for it, and warned others. So, what happened with the judge? He asked. He's a piece of garbage, I replied. Oh man, what did he do? He took my daughter away from me, even though she asked to live with me, and then accused me of molesting her. Oh man, what are you going to do about it? I have some plans. I kind of knew I'd end up here, so I started planning a few weeks ago. Anything I can help with? He asked. Maybe, but right now I don't know. It's nice to have a friend here though. I'll introduce you to some of my buddies. It's good to have people who have your back and whom you can rely on. After some introductions, Ringer started telling stories about our days on the streets of Lansing. There were a few chuckles but mostly nods, as their stories weren't much different. That night, lying in my bunk staring at the wall, I asked myself how it had come to this point. I began to review my life. My childhood was rough by most standards. My father was an abusive drunk, and my mom had no backbone, even when he started hitting me. Because of this, I spent most of my time on the streets. I met a group of guys in similar situations. We weren't a gang, though we pretended to be. We were just stupid kids dealing with our problems. The crime rate in Lansing is high, and we didn't help that statistic. Mostly minor stuff, but we did steal cars a couple of times, which landed me in prison. Looking back, it was the best thing that happened to me. Sure, it was hard, but I had time to think about the direction of my life. I vowed to do something meaningful when I got out. I changed. I started planning for the future. By 20, I had saved enough money to buy a foreclosed house in my neighborhood. It became the first of many houses I renovated and rented out. When I was 22, I was in a club hoping to catch a break. I don't even remember the name of the club. It changed names so many times before being torn down for condos. That night, I felt lucky. I met Anna. We hit it off. Her life was very different from mine. She had just moved to Chicago to live with a friend. She grew up in Seymour, Indiana, a small town best known as the hometown of John Cougar Mellencamp. By the time Anna was born, he had already become famous and moved away, so she never met him. Growing up in a small Midwestern town produced a 21-year-old woman with an attitude toward life that I found appealing. I guess opposites attract. We married a year later, and the year after that, Sophie was born, named after Anna's mom. I bought a house in Oak Forest to rent out, but when she saw it, she loved it and wanted to make it our home. We spent the next 10 years fixing it up. Those were the best 10 years of my life. We worked on home projects together, watched our daughter grow up, and invited neighbors over for barbecues. It was the American dream. Then Anna got a job at a law firm, and things began to change, mostly her attitude toward life. The simple life no longer suited her. She needed expensive clothes and jewelry, and neighborhood barbecues were replaced by trips to fancy restaurants with people from her firm. She also began making derogatory comments about the people of Chicago's South Side. I knew the reputation and reality of the South Side, but she acted superior to everyone else. We fought over her attitude multiple times. Soon after, she started urging me to move to the North Side constantly. 3 years ago, we moved. The school system was better, but Sophie felt the attitude of her North Side classmates, making school life unbearable. She kept saying she wanted to go back home. So did I, but Anna never listened. She was where she wanted to be. The event that triggered the divorce was an evening like many others at that time. She called around 6:30 p.m., saying she was going to a dance with paralegals from her job. However, I tracked her cell phone and decided to check on her. I stood in the shadows and watched her dance, but not with the girls from her office. She was with the guys, surrounded as if she were the main attraction. They were doing everything but having sex on the dance floor. Around 9:15 p.m., I went to the bathroom. While I was in the stall, a guy walked in and started talking to another at the urinal. Damn, Joe, you're getting turned on with Anna on the dance floor. I thought you were going to do it right there. Yeah, She's a wild one, the first guy replied. You know it. She's coming home with me tonight. We can finally have some proper fun instead of 20 minutes in the office or the back seat of my car. Yeah, it's nice for immediate relief, but it doesn't compare to a real experience, the other guy said. Well, we're going to have a great time tonight, the first guy bragged. Maybe next week it'll be my turn, said the other as they left. I came out of the restroom a minute later to see her in the arms of one of the guys, making out on the dance floor. Around 9:30 p.m., she texted me that she had too much to drink and didn't feel comfortable taking the train. She said she'd spend the night at Paula's, one of the other paralegals. I texted back, sure. She replied, sorry. She would be sorry. I watched her grab her purse and leave the club, holding hands with a young lawyer from her office. I followed them. They were so engrossed in each other that they didn't notice me. They jumped into his Lexus, kissing and groping for a few minutes. I started to get angry, but then my Southside vindictiveness took over. I calmed down and began planning. I followed them to his building. They went in, and I headed home. When I arrived, I explained to Sophie that we were leaving and that she should pack everything she wanted because we weren't coming back. She was excited but asked about her mom. Other guys are taking care of her now, I explained. She understood. It took us about 3 hours, but we packed everything into my truck. Fortunately, our house in Oak Forest had recently been vacated, so we had a place to go. Around 11 a.m. the next day, Saturday, Anna called my cell phone. Nick, what's going on? Where are you? Home, I said. It only took her a second to understand. Why? She asked, knowing perfectly well why. I don't know you anymore, and I don't want to. Where's Sophie? With me. She doesn't want to live with you in that house anymore. I knew she wasn't sure if I knew about her affair, so she said, come on, Nick. If you don't like living luxuriously, it doesn't mean you can walk away and take our daughter. No, Anna, but a wife cheating is a reason to leave. Expect divorce papers next week. She sighed, then said in her usual condescending manner, you Southside piece of trash. You have no idea what hell you're bringing upon yourself. My firm will destroy you. That may be true, but in the end, I will prevail. You have not yet seen my full wrath. For the next 6 months, she made no attempt at reconciliation. She even called to tell me she was seeing various lawyers. I didn't care. There was no turning back. I had to get Sophie back, but to do that, she had to return to school. Sophie informed me that Anna was out almost every night until at least midnight. She also told me that Anna constantly criticized me, telling Sophie to aim for a wealthy guy from her school as a future husband to live in luxury. Sophie always defended me, telling her mom she wanted to return to Oak Forest. Now, lying in jail, Anna probably thought she had one. I was in jail but unbroken. I wondered if she thought about how she would pay the mortgage, health insurance, and spousal support. She likely believed a few days in jail would make me come to my senses. No, it would give me more time to plan and execute my revenge. Something happened Thursday afternoon that would change many lives, some of whom I would never meet. 2 guards ordered me to come with them. I was taken to a video conference room. I asked, what is this? If I'm speaking to the judge, I want my lawyer present. They pushed me into the room. Sit down. You will not talk to the judge, but you will be sentenced. They slammed the door. I started screaming for them to let me out. After about 10 minutes, I was thrashing around the room when the door opened, and 6 inmates entered. I knew what they were going to try, and I would do everything to prevent it. You shouldn't mess with me, I declared. You'll regret it. One jumped at me, and I punched him in the nose, hearing it crack. Then they all rushed me. I swung back, kicked, elbowed, and pinned them against the walls. Then the biggest of them, 6 inches taller than me, put me in a chokehold. I kept punching until I lost consciousness. I woke up in the infirmary, bloody, bruised, and with my rear end on fire. They needed to establish dominance, and that's how they did it. By the light coming through the window, I realized it was morning. I had been out all night. The nurse approached. I looked at her with hatred in my eyes. For the system that took my child, made me pay so my ex-wife could live in luxury, and finally put me in jail to teach me a lesson. I'm here to help you, not hurt you. You've been beaten badly. They said you got into a fight, but we both know the truth. I can help you get better, or you can lie here and suffer. There's no difference to me, she said. I realized she wanted to help. I tried to smile. Sorry. You've been through a traumatic event. I can only imagine your rage. She left and returned with breakfast. She unclenched one of my hands. Thank you, I said. You're welcome. As I ate, I knew what I was going to do. Can I ask a favor? Depends on the situation, she replied. One of the prisoners, Randall Turner, is a friend I grew up with. May I invite him to join me? We'll see, she said indifferently. She managed to get permission. Ringer visited me later that afternoon. Seeing me, he exclaimed, oh man. He knew I wouldn't let it go unnoticed. I described the 6 guys and 2 guards who did this to me, then said, I need to know their full names, not just nicknames. Oh man, what are you going to do? An eye for an eye, with a twist. He saw my look and knew it would be ugly. I'll try to get them, he said. What do you want from me? Just that. I'll handle the rest. We talked more, and then he was escorted back to his cell. Sleep that night was restless. I couldn't get comfortable, strapped to the bed. The next day, Ringer returned with the list. He asked again, what are you going to do? The less you know, the better. Oh man, he said. The next day was Sunday, and I got a surprise, good and bad. Anna arrived with Sophie. Anna spoke first. So, you found common ground with your fellow misfits? What the hell do you want? I growled. Sophie insisted we come. Are you ready to apologize and be reasonable yet? No way. And what's this about me and Sophie? You know I'd never do anything to her. How do I know? She's unusually attached to you, she said. You're a piece of garbage. Why don't you go back to your friends and have them check how full of garbage you are? Just so you know, it's happened before, and they loved it, she gloated. Get the hell out and send Sophie in. I'm tired of talking to you. She smiled nastily. She thought she had one. When they brought Sophie in, she cried upon seeing me. Honey, don't cry. It looks worse than it is. Oh, Daddy, I was scared. You look like you've been in an accident. Don't worry, sweetheart. I'm tougher than I look. Dad, I hate Mom for what she's done to you. Making me live with her, and for saying you did inappropriate things. That's total garbage. I know, Sophie. Don't call me that. I'm Gina now. I don't want to be associated with her or her family. That's what I told her, and I declared I wouldn't talk to her if I didn't have to. And I haven't since Monday. She keeps trying to be nice, but I ignore her. Gina, you look more like me than you realize. I'm proud of you. Thanks, Dad. Can you do something for me? Anything. I handed her the list Ringer had made, which she immediately tucked into her bra. Give this to Uncle Jake and tell him to come see me as soon as possible. My brother Jake was 3 years younger than me. He grew up with the same abusive, drunken father, but I protected him as best I could. I took most of the brunt to keep him safe. Jake was the brains of the family. He got really into computer games and then moved on to computers themselves. We sat and talked for a little while longer until Anna came back and said, Gina, we have to go. Gina didn't say anything to her, just got up, gave me a hug, and walked away. Anna said to me, your daughter is just as stubborn as you are. I just smiled at her, and she turned and walked away. On Tuesday, Jake came to visit. He was shocked at my appearance. You look better than last Friday, I said jokingly. He spoke to me in our made-up language we created as kids to talk about Mom and Dad without them understanding. Gina, he said in our language, gave me a list. I did some preliminary research. What are you looking for? Addresses of wives or regular girlfriends, I said in English. Oh man, he said in English, realizing what I meant. That's all you need to do, I said in our language. Then give it to Gummy and ask him to visit me without the list. Gummy? Jake asked, surprised. Gummy was one of my gang members who still lived in his parents' old house in Lansing. I can do that. Anything else? No, that's enough. But don't be a stranger. I could use a familiar face now and then. Aren't you getting out soon? He asked. Not if I don't apologize, and you know me better than that. You've always been stubborn, he stated. Yeah, and it kept you from our father's drunken wrath, I said. He realized I was right and smiled. I'll stop by in the next 2 weeks to see if you need anything else. That would be great. That same week, I returned to my regular cell. Ringer informed me that things were going south for the 6 and the 2 guards. The looks I got from them were enough to say, you better stay where you are, or it will happen again. They didn't know yet that they were the ones who would be put in their place. Gummy came to visit. Jake gave me this. What do you want? Did you hear what they did to me? Yeah, I heard, he said. Jake must have told him. Return the favor, but to their loved ones. Just no DNA. You got it, Gummy said, understanding what I meant. All on the same day, preferably at the same time. Make sure they tell their loved ones, don't mess with Texas. I'll get my friends to help, he said and walked away. He knew how to do it in a way that wouldn't identify anyone but would make the reason clear. A week passed, but I heard nothing. I was also waiting for another visit from Gina. I didn't want to see Anna, but I knew she had to be there if Gina came. Tuesday morning, I noticed that 2 security guards were not at work. Tuesday was not usually a day off for them. One of the 6 was also distracted and looked upset. It must have happened yesterday, I thought to myself. I talked to Ringer and asked him to tell them, don't mess with Texas. Soon, several prisoners began to address me as Texas. After a couple of days, the 6 started throwing angry glances at me. 2 of the guards returned to work and glared at me. Ringer's friends had my back. When one of the 6 approached me, 8 of my new friends surrounded us. The guy said, you're a piece of trash. I don't know how you did it, but my girlfriend dumped me. She said she didn't want to risk getting hurt again. She also said, don't mess with Texas. I smiled and said, that sounds like good advice. I told you all not to mess with me. Now your women know how it feels. An eye for an eye, with a twist. The twist is that you hurt me, and I hurt those you care about. Next time, it will be their mothers. His eyes widened, and he turned back to his buddies. Shortly afterward, 2 guards approached me. Who do you think you are? We're going to make your stay here a living hell. Well, I guess your wives better get used to being taken advantage of. They might even enjoy it. One of the guards approached to hit me. I didn't resist. A minute or 2 later, as he was beating me, another guard dragged him away. Many prisoners witnessed this, and the cameras likely caught it too. I was taken back to the infirmary, where I met Beth, the nurse who helped me the first time. So we've got a troublemaker here, huh? She said. I didn't throw any punches. The guard just started hitting me, I replied. There will be an investigation. There were too many witnesses. He'll probably lose his job. One less corrupt security guard, I said. These guards are keeping you safe, believe it or not. He certainly didn't keep me safe last time. More than that, he let it happen, I replied. She bandaged me up and told me I'd have to stay overnight for observation. I wondered if she just wanted to look at my pretty face, which was now wrinkled and bruised. The guard was suspended from work, pending the investigation. The other guard kept glaring at me but didn't say anything. Perhaps he realized that "don't mess with Texas" applied to him too. Gina hadn't visited in 3 weeks. I kept wondering what was going on. Finally, Jake came in and told me that Anna was refusing to bring Gina to visit. That pissed me off even more. My ex-wife was hiding my daughter from me. Anna arrived at the end of the month. She had almost left Gina at home, but Gina wouldn't get out of the car no matter how much Anna screamed and yelled. Anna came in to see me, already furious. Your daughter is acting impossible. She hardly ever talks to me. She's just as stubborn as you. You said that last time. Why don't you ask the judge to reverse his decision and hand her over to me? I'd be happy to take her off your hands. You're not getting her. She needs to go to a good school so she can accomplish something. Oak Forest is a good school, and she loved it there. It's not even close to Wilmette. She's getting a great education and meeting people who can help her in the future. Our daughter will make her own way in life. She doesn't need to ride on someone else's coattails. You're just so stubborn you can't see any good it can do. Anna, we've argued about this 100 times. You'll never change my mind, and I won't change yours. Why did you come here? I know it wasn't to bring Gina. Her name is Regina, not Gina. Well, that's not what she wants to be called. Don't you want her to be independent? You mean stubbornness? No, independent, able to think for herself, decide what's right for her, not just follow a guy with money or power. She looked at me and grinned. She knew that last comment was meant for her. Anyway, that's it. I need spousal support payments. I need to buy things and pay bills. Well, you'll have to pay them out of your paycheck. I can't get checks from my business while I'm incarcerated, and I don't have a job. No job, no paycheck. What do you mean? I can't pay all the bills on my paycheck? Well, you should have thought of that before taking me to court. You acted like an idiot by paying in change. Well, now you won't get paid because I'm in jail. You must, she insisted. No, I don't. What are they going to do? Put me in jail if I don't? Oh, wait, I'm already in jail. What am I going to do about the bills? She whined. Get one of your lawyer buddies to pay them. I'm sure you deserve it. With those words, she ran out of the room. Gina came in, and I was so happy to see her. Wow, you really pissed her off, she said. She expects me to keep paying her spousal support while I'm in jail. Good luck with that. How are you holding up, Dad? Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. How are you doing? I hear you're still not talking to your mom. Not very often, just when I have to, she said. So, when are you getting out? Honey, I refuse to apologize to that judge. I'll only apologize if he gives you back to me. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. I probably won't get out until my 6 months are up. I understand, she said sadly. You know, it's my birthday next month. I'd like you to come out so we can celebrate, but I don't want you to go against your principles. We can celebrate when you come out. It was tearing me apart. I began to reconsider my position. By being here, I was hurting my little girl. Then Gina said something that put things into perspective. If a man has no principles, he has nothing, she said. As Abraham Lincoln said, important principles may and must be inflexible. Where did you hear that? I asked. My counselor, Dr. Hodges, at school. It's great to have someone to talk to about all of this. Some of my teachers noticed my grades were going down and asked the counselor to talk to me. It's also helped me deal with my mom, although I still don't talk to her. In a school system like Wilmette, the counselor could be a doctor of psychology. These rich kids couldn't go to just any school counselor. Your mom seems to be mad at you too. Yes, she's starting to annoy me. I just ignore her. I think it makes it worse, but I don't care. Well, in a couple of months, she'll have to start looking for a place to live. The bank won't let the jumbo loan go unpaid for too long. I think her mansion will be foreclosed within 3 months. But Dad, if the house gets foreclosed, won't that ruin your reputation? Honey, when you usually buy things with cash, you don't worry about credit. That stupid mansion was the only thing I took out a loan for. Really? Wow, Dad. Even with all your leases and other businesses? I've never taken out a loan. I used the money from the others to buy new ones. Daddy, I've always respected you, but now I respect you even more, she said with a smile. Thank you, dear. You really know how to lift my spirits. It was a wonderful visit with my daughter. I wanted to be with her regularly. Missing her birthday would be hard, but I knew she would be fine. She is strong. The next week, I found out that the security guard who hit me had been fired. It was hard to argue with a videotape showing me not defending myself. A few days later, the other guard quit. I don't know if he was transferred, but at least he left. Several inmates thanked me for getting rid of the rotten guard. I think I gained some respect. Now more people were calling me Texas. I didn't have much trouble after that. The 6 were still mad at me. One of their wives had filed for divorce, and 3 others were dumped by their girlfriends. Maybe people can learn, given the threat of more reprisals and my improved standing among the other prisoners. They knew they were better off doing nothing. A couple of weeks later, I received a subpoena to meet with the judge. I told the guard I wouldn't meet without my lawyer. But the judge is already waiting, he said. I don't care. I want my lawyer. Have him reschedule. My calendar is open. The guard hesitated, then turned and walked away. 3 days later, the meeting was set for the following week. I asked for half an hour with my lawyer before the meeting. They agreed. My lawyer and I met to discuss what would happen. He told me he wasn't given any information about the meeting, which seemed odd. I guess we'll play it by ear. When the judge appeared on the video, he looked unhappy about being put off for a week. I didn't care. To me, he was just a piece of garbage. My attorney spoke almost immediately. Your Honor, may I ask what this is about? We received no information, just a summons. Your client didn't need to involve you, he said. I just wanted to know if he was willing to apologize for his outburst. The lawyer looked at me. I gestured for him to lean over, and I whispered in his ear. Your Honor, my attorney said, he is unwilling to apologize and asks that you apologize to him. He also requests primary custody of the child. The judge looked shocked. How could I ask him to apologize? Of course, he wouldn't. My decision regarding the child stands, and I have nothing to apologize for. Well then, we've wasted our time. If my client decides to change his mind, we will request an audience. Good day, sir. One more thing, the judge said. Your client is not honoring the divorce decree. When does he plan to make the required spousal maintenance and mortgage payments? My lawyer leaned toward me, and I whispered again. Your Honor, he doesn't plan to make any payments while he's in custody, but his house will be foreclosed. It's not my house, I said bluntly. Maybe my wife's mansion, but not mine. I never wanted to own it. It will ruin your credit and lose all your equity, he said. A small price to see my ex-wife walking down the street where she belongs, I said. Then I added something to piss him off. Perhaps all her buddies can make the payments together. I'm sure they can find the money. I insinuated that my wife was a mistress and he was one of her lovers. You worthless piece of Southside trash. Who do you think you're talking to? I think I'm talking to the man who partook in my wife's infidelity. If I'm wrong, I apologize. I just can't understand why someone not involved would care so much. I stood up and walked to the door. I heard the judge say, Counselor, your client just earned 2 more months in jail. If he continues to disrespect me, I will make his life a living hell. I smiled, waiting for the guard. When I got back to my cell, I was on edge. Apparently, Anna had talked about the mortgage with her buddies, who in turn had talked to the judge. What a rat's nest. Their time would come. The next Sunday, Anna visited me in jail. Fortunately, Gina found out and insisted on coming. I heard you pissed off the judge again and got 2 more months in jail. When will you learn you can't fight the system? Anna, why don't you just talk to me? I don't need your Northside attitude. Just make sure Gina visits regularly. It's Regina, she screamed. I turned away and didn't speak to her. She cursed and finally left. Gina came in with a huge smile. Because I'm going to see my daddy, she said. That can't be the only reason, I said. I have a surprise for you, but I can't tell you yet. Do you trust me? With my life. Then will you sign this paper without reading it first? She held out a folded piece of paper. I looked at her warily. What are you up to? You'll have to wait and see. I thought you trusted me. I smiled and signed the paper. Mom said you did something to get your sentence extended. Is that true? Yes, I confronted the judge again. Well, whatever you did, he probably deserved it. We talked about school and her mom. She kept mentioning Dr. Alex Hodges. I tried to get her to tell me about her plans, but she kept it a surprise. I'm sorry I won't be at your 16th birthday party, but I have a present for you. What is it? It's a surprise, so I guess we're both in for surprises. At the end of the visit, I asked Gina to invite Greg to visit me. Greg was my right-hand man in my businesses. Of course, Daddy, she said. When Greg visited, he had managed to do a lot of what I asked. Then I asked him to prepare a surprise for Gina's birthday. Are you sure? Yes, it's perfect for her. Okay, I'll talk to our lawyer, he said. Also, Visit my brother Jake and give him what you have. He'll know what to do with it. If he has questions, have him come to me. Otherwise, let him go to Gummy. Will do, he said and left. I smiled all day. Gummy knew my devious mind and would execute the plan while I was guilt-free in jail. By the end of the month, my popularity among prisoners had grown. A guard must have told someone how I treated the judge, and word spread. Soon, everyone was calling me Texas. Toward the end of the month, I had a visitor. Anna again. I was about to leave when she said, "Nick, please stop. I need to talk to you." "I have nothing to say to you, Anna. We're going to lose our house. You have to give me money to stop the foreclosure." "This is your house, Anna. I never wanted it. You kept nagging until I gave in. This house means nothing to me. In a falling market, we have no equity. Let the bank take it. You can't do this. You have to help me. Ask your buddies for help. They have enough money. Then you can become the person you are." She cried, and I left. It felt good to let it out. As I was being led back to my cell, the guard got a call to bring me back. I expected to see Anna crying and begging again. Instead, it was Gina. "Gina, your mom didn't tell me she brought you. I wouldn't let her come without me," she said. "I'm sorry I missed your birthday, but I have a present for you." "I don't care about the present. I love you anyway." What a wonderful daughter I have, I thought. I don't have it with me, nor is it possible, but I can tell you. The house in Oak Forest is yours. It goes into trust for you when you become of age. When I get out, can I stay there? Of course. I'll pay your rent. Her eyes widened, and she smiled. Daddy, my God, you just removed a huge obstacle to surprising you. I can't tell you yet, but when I do, you'll understand. I love you so much. I love you too, honey. I was puzzled about the surprise. Dad, if you're ready, I'm ready, I heard Freddie say. Freddie, or Alexandria Frederico, was from my neighborhood. She didn't hang out with my gang, but we went to school together. Gina looked at us in confusion. Daddy, how do you know Dr. Hodges? Freddie, or Alex, as I now realize, answered. We lived in the same neighborhood, but he didn't pay attention to me. She was a couple of years behind me in school. We didn't run in the same circles. You were a juvenile delinquent back then, she said with a smile. It looks like I haven't changed much. I'm in my 40s and still in prison. You still can't keep your mouth shut? It looks like it, I said. I heard I should call you Tex, huh? Gina said. Why do you call him that? That was his nickname when he was a teenager. He retaliated when someone did something bad to him. Your mom definitely did something bad. I bet the news about the law firm is Tex's doing. I plead guilty, I said. Before we go further, I hope you don't mind me spending time with Gina. It's Gina, she corrected herself. When I first talked to Gina about 9 months ago, she was very upset. I wondered if she was related to you, and Ken, since D'Angelo isn't a common name. When I went through her records and found out her father was Nick, I still wasn't sure. When she told me you were in prison, I was certain. I felt bad. You must have changed and become successful to have a house in Wilmette. It's just a house. It's never been my home, I said. Yes, our real home is in Oak Forest, Southside, Gina said. In a better neighborhood than where we grew up, Alex said. If we'd stayed there, maybe we wouldn't be where we are now, I said sadly. Perhaps it was true. If Anna had been content in our home, we would still be happily married. We talked more, and then I took Freddie aside. I really appreciate you helping Gina. Thank you also for helping her become emancipated. It makes all the difference. It's all right, Texas. She's like family. I've grown attached to her. Thank you again. When I get out, I'll take you all to dinner. If I ever get out, I thought. The next 2 weeks passed without developments. Just the daily routine. Gina and Freddie visited on Sundays. I was pleased Freddie took Gina under her wing. Gina told me Alex helped her decorate the house. They bought new furniture and other decorations. I asked where they got the money. Uncle Jake, of course. I have money set aside for my needs. Yeah, I didn't want Freddie to pay for something. She helped me a lot but didn't buy anything. I hope it's not all girly stuff. I'd like to feel at home there. Don't worry, your man cave will still be a man cave, she said. When they left, I lay thinking about Gina growing up. She was an adult now. Soon, she would be off to college. I hoped to meet someone who appreciated simple things in life. On Monday, I had another visitor. Anna again. I saw her and almost left. Nick, wait, we need to talk. Now what? Do you know what our daughter did? What are you talking about? She got emancipated. She doesn't have to live with us. She's moved out and I don't know where. Oh, that? So you know. Did you put her up to it? No, she did it on her own. The school counselor helped her. So where is she staying? At the counselor's? No, she's back home. She moved back to the south side. What about school? She'll be back in Oak Forest in the fall. She hated Wilmette. She was despised for being from the projects. She never belonged in high society. You took her from a school she loved, where she had friends, and put her in a place that hurt her ego. Moving her did more harm than good. I was trying to make sure she got a good education. Children learn more from their parents' example than in the classroom. We were her teachers. What example are you setting? I hope it teaches her what not to do. Our job as parents is to raise responsible adults. I hope she overlooks our failures, especially our marriage. It wasn't that bad. No, but that's how it ended up. I hope you find what you're looking for. I didn't have it. She looked sad and regretful. I got up and left. Finally, the day came for my release. This time, I was summoned to the real court. Gina and Freddie were there, as well as Anna. The judge reviewed the facts of my situation. So, Mr. D'Angelo, what do you have to say for yourself? I should say I've done my original 6 months plus 2 more. At any time, you could have apologized and walked free. I didn't feel the judge deserved my apology, so I carried out his sentence. You're a stubborn man, Mr. D'Angelo. I prefer strong-willed. It's helped me succeed. Your divorce agreement remains. You must pay for the months you did not honor it. My client will gladly pay what he owes, just under $20,000. He will generously pay the entire $20,000 today with the understanding that he has met his obligations and will not pay again, my lawyer said. Lily stood up. You owe me more. You have to keep paying until Regina turns 18. Miss, said the judge, I'll handle all transactions. Counselor, how did you arrive at that figure? My client paid for his daughter's support. He did not pay his ex-wife's spousal support or mortgage while incarcerated. Now he can start earning money again. The judge looked at the numbers. Your client has been incarcerated for 8 months. Spousal support alone will be $166,000, not to mention mortgage payments. Your Honor, the child was emancipated 3 months ago, and the house was foreclosed. There are no payments on a loan that no longer exists. The amount owed is $1,782. He will gladly pay the full $20,000 and consider his relationship with her terminated. The judge looked at the transcript and our figures. He couldn't see how he could deny what was written in black and white. I'll look into the matter more, but if what you've given me is correct, I'll accept the figure. He looked at Lily and me. You have a child together. She is an adult from the court's point of view. She still needs both of you to be civil so she can develop healthfully. You all need to be polite to each other. He looked directly at me. And you must be civil to others involved in the events leading to your divorce. May I have your word on that, Mr. D'Angelo? Yes, Your Honor, I said. Mrs. D'Angelo? Yes, Your Honor, she said. And Regina? It's Gina, but yes, Your Honor. Then unless the data proves false, I will close this case. Mr. D'Angelo, you may go. Thank you, Your Honor, my attorney replied. As we stood up and headed for the exit, Gina ran up and hugged me. Freddie smiled. Anna looked at us, then approached. $20,000, that's it? That's garbage. You chose your new people over me. They can help you get back on your feet. Lily, the judge asked us to be civil. Let's do it for Gina's sake. It's Regina, hissed Lily. Okay, what am I going to do? I have no job, no place to live, nothing. You can find another job and ask for housing. I can help. I can put you in one of my apartments rent-free for 6 months to get your life in order. You want me to move back to the south side? It's free rent. She exclaimed, ugh. I turned to Gina and Freddie. Ladies, are you ready to go? Of course, they said. Freddie, I owe you a nice dinner. I think I remember something like that. Well, let's go to PM Italian. I made reservations when I confirmed my release date. I need to cleanse my palate of prison food. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Anna. She was furious. It was our restaurant for special occasions. The table is booked for 6:30, so we have time. Do you mind if we ride around a bit? I need to get used to freedom. I turned to Freddie. I made a reservation for 4. Could you call your husband and see if he's available? Freddie fell silent. Then Gina said, Daddy, she doesn't have a husband.
I'm sorry, Dr. Hodges.
I didn't tell him. I didn't know. I assumed since you wore rings you were married. I just can't take them off. I feel like if I do, I'll forget him. I'm very sorry. Perhaps you'll join us. Well, I think it's going to be okay. I had been so focused on my problems and revenge that I didn't ask about her life. I felt like such an idiot. I had to change, starting tonight. I would listen to anything she wanted to tell me about herself. I would become a better friend. The food was great. It was nice to wear regular clothes and not worry about always being on guard. Freedom felt strange. 8 months will do that to you. By the end of lunch, I felt better. I took a chance, Alexandria. When you're ready, will you let me take you on a real date? I don't care how long it takes. Can we stay in touch? Daddy, we will keep in touch. She's not getting rid of me, Gina said. And I wouldn't want it any other way, Freddie said. Mike and I never had children. Gina has been therapeutic. I hope you don't mind. After everything you've done, I wouldn't want it any other way. Leaving the restaurant, Gina said, I hope you like the view of our old house. Anything is better than where I've been. When we arrived, I was surprised. The shutters were painted, and the bushes were trimmed. It looked great. I couldn't wait to see the inside. Everything looked different than when I left, but it felt like home. I could feel Freddie's touch. I know it sounds vulgar, but I cried. This hardened criminal was crying. Kurt, I heard Freddie say. I wiped my eyes. I feel at home. Kurt, Alex said. I think I'm ready. I looked puzzled. She took off her rings and smiled. I smiled back, and we hugged. Epilogue. 10 attorneys, 4 paralegals, 6 politicians, and a judge had their careers and marriages destroyed because of the events leading up to my divorce and its aftermath. Stubbornness or willpower. Sometimes you have to stand up for your principles. Gina had a new mother and a new brother and sister, 18 years younger than her. One of them is named Frederick, the boy, and the girl's name is Alexis. They were twins. I love that I could name them after the person who helped me start my new life. Anna married a rich lawyer. I think she finally got what she wanted. I thought we had everything: a loving family, a nice house in a good neighborhood, a healthy child, and a business without money problems. I guess, for me, we had everything except status. Now she has status. She's married to a wealthy attorney living in a big house in Winnetka with a misogynistic husband who doesn't love her but keeps her for the appearance of stability. I hope she's happy. I know I am.